his Miranda rights, and he is talking. We're back with the panel. Charles.
We're having a big argument over whether he should be tried by the military or a civilian court. That's the wrong argument. It doesn't matter. What matters is that we learn what he knows. The idea that we capture a terrorist who we believe was one of the ringleaders of an attack on our embassy, and then he goes under the custody of the Department of Justice as if he's a burglar outside the Libyan embassy, is quite insane. He's a prisoner of war. He has no Miranda rights. Miranda rights are meant for Americans. They are not intended for non-Americans, unlawful combatants, which he is. He needs to be under the military, where he can be interrogated like a prisoner of war and kept in interrogation until we squeeze everything that we need out of him. He is on a slow boat, but at some point they're going to land in New York, and in which case all of that is over. Who cares who tries him at the end? It's what you do at the beginning. And just one more thing. We apparently waited for months to apprehend him because we needed to gather the evidence that we could show in a civilian court. This is insane. This is a terrorist on the loose. Instead of grabbing him at the first opportunity, we're going around, collecting shells around the consulate in Benghazi so we can have a good trial. This is war. It's not a criminal investigation. Did we learn nothing from 9/11?
Juan, isn't this having it both ways? Saying that we're against this war on terror, but still interrogating him on a ship, and he's not been read his Miranda rights. If you're going to try him in the civilian court, it's essentially a floating black site.
Yeah.
And what is this? It's kind of a hybrid.
Well, there's something called a public safety exception, and that's what's being done here. It's much as if someone committed an act of terrorism here in the United States, which is that you say before you read them the Miranda rights, here's the deal. We need some information. We want to know if there's anything imminent, anything further, about where weaponry may be hidden, etc. And this is an important point because, remember, there's been a failure on the part of American intelligence to link this fellow directly to al-Qaeda. So they couldn't just kill him in the way that we killed bin Laden, and they couldn't use drones and other devices that were used to kill others who we have linked directly to al-Qaeda. So under U.S. law, what we did was extract him, and now we're questioning him, again, having built what we think is a strong case about his guilt. George.
Well, we talk about the law that's germane here, and I'm not sure the law is anything other than soft wax at this point, because we're dealing with entities and conflicts with which we have no experience. We talked about the slow boat. One terrorist was on a boat for 2 months, and you can do an awful lot of chatting with him in 2 months. With regard, getting him convicted, as Charles says, is not the problem. He's seen his last day of freedom ever, and we've convicted more than 500 terrorists.
I mean, they have video of them
right.
at the site.
Right.
It's probably good evidence.
That's right. And Pat Leahy says we've convicted 500 people in civilian courts. It is very curious that we are making distinctions. Frankly, I think it speaks rather well of us that we're making distinctions, that the authorization for the use of military force does not cover this person because certain connections have not been established between him and other entities. Therefore, he could not be attacked and killed. Therefore, the therefores continue. But we don't know what the answer is yet. But again, I think it speaks rather well of us that we're asking the questions.
Well, quickly, Charles, a lot of people are calling for him to go to Gitmo. We saw that report tonight. They do have it pretty good there with the health care and everything else.
Gitmo is the slowest of all boats. That's the point of Gitmo. At some point, the boat arrives in New York and the questioning ends. He gets a fancy lawyer, a nice, comfy suite, and we never hear another word again. There are bad guys out there in North Africa. He knows a lot of them. We have to know about it. Stick him in Gitmo and